Now, as you all know, both Disney and Lucasfilm are attempting to course correct the current status of Star Wars, as well as let's not forget about how Disney's trying to course correct Marvel with everything that has happened before with Ant-Man 3, Quantumania, as well as the upcoming The Marvels, and they are really trying to piece everything together with the upcoming Avengers movies and everything happening for Disney+. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. And let's get into what's going on with Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy and what she had to deliver to the general public. Now, we know that Kathleen Kennedy and Leslie Headland, who, by the way, in my opinion, is like the worst of the worst to be working at Lucasfilm, because she believes that if you expect George Lucas to be the key of Star Wars, that you are a misogynist, that you are a problem. And that's basically her overall view of things. Now, we know that both Kathy Kennedy and Leslie Headland are trying to expand beyond the Acolyte with an Acolyte spin-off and even an Acolyte Season 2. We talked about what's been going on behind the scenes there. However, what's even all the more alarming has a lot to do with what Kathleen Kennedy had to deliver to not just Star Wars fans, but to potential new fans that will be welcomed to the franchise with these upcoming shows that are just not true Star Wars, that are just not true George Lucas's Star Wars, to be honest. Now, this is where matters get even worse, because this is living proof that Disney is doubling down on all of their DEI nonsense, and they are doubling down on Kathleen Kennedy's nonsense as well. Now, with Disney currently in full damage control mode for all things Star Wars, Marvel, and more, one major development has to do with what Kathleen Kennedy had to deliver about the future of the franchise. She went on to confirm the following. We here at Lucasfilm have a wide-angled view of our goals for television and movies. Our goal right now in mind is to expand to producing more female-led projects. We have been so proud with introducing this concept with Star Wars Ahsoka, and we will be providing this in a perfected format, beginning with The Acolyte, that we hope to continue with multiple shows and films for the future. When we look at cinema and the film industry for the past number of decades, projects were led by male characters, and we are crossing the bridge now to making up for lost time of creating female-focused projects in a galaxy far, far away. We are proud to have Dave Filoni on board with us, who seriously supports our goals in mind, and I could not be more proud of Mr. Iger, allowing us to enhance this change of Star Wars moving onwards. Now guys, let me just stop here quick before I get to the next big bit that she talks about. Now, this is again a living example of Kathleen Kennedy not caring about the core audience. This is exactly why The Acolyte is going to be a trash fire. I pointed this out several times. We already know who's involved with the show. We already know what this show is going to be about in the general sense of things, and that it's all about stripping away from George Lucas's format of Star Wars. So, The Acolyte is going to be the first stepping stone to diverting away from George's source material at the very core of it all. And I think that's going to be, another Last Jedi 2.0 situation, and what I mean by that is, The Last Jedi backlash is so large, you can only imagine what's going to happen with The Acolyte, given that this movie diverts from the prequels. It's even going to retcon elements of the prequel trilogy movies by George Lucas in some areas, which I think is going to tick off a lot of fans, to be honest. Now, the thing about Kathleen Kennedy that really gets a lot of fans out there angered and pent up is the fact that she just does not care about the ramifications. She does not care about the backlash, seemingly. She does not care about what fans have to say. And she touches on this in just a second, by the way. Now, again, I don't understand the motive to excluding male characters at the forefront. And she said it right there. She believes that this is making up for lost time. And I cannot stress this enough. We have had powerful female characters in pop culture for years. I mean, just to name a few, and I know I named this many times, but Sarah Connor and Ellen Ripley are the two ones that really, come to mind, immediately. Anything ranging from those two characters, other characters out there have been established throughout the 80s, 90s, the 2000s, even in the early 2010s. I mean, we've had so many prime examples that there's no excuse to make it seem like that they have to make up for lost time. I mean, I think that's just a terrible way of saying things by Kathleen Kennedy, but let's move on to the next thing that she touches on. And this is where matters get even worse. Now, not only that, she goes on to state, but we will be establishing great examples of expanding diversity in our films and shows as well for Star Wars. I am so glad to be working with Leslie Headland, who we are in the talks with, and bringing her on board of continuing the story of the Acolytes somehow after Season 1. We have had many great conversations of diverting from George's material and embracing the new, such as a brand new galaxy where anything is possible. We introduced this in Ahsoka to let fans know that rules can be broken now in Star Wars finally, so that we as creators have the freedom to expand beyond George's rules and philosophy that were set within the prequels and the originals. Our goal also is to strictly hire writers, directors, and showrunners that will consist of women, moving onwards, in order to widen our view of equality here at Lucasfilm. We understand a minority will disagree with this approach, but as creators, it's best to focus away from the fans' demands, and to focus on oneself to create a successful story. So again, I mean, Kathleen Kennedy is spewing nonsense. You know, I don't know what the motive is to just strictly hire women or females, either as creators or, you know, at the forefront when it comes to the characters. That's when you suffer from the story, that's when you suffer from character development, and need I say, that's when you suffer from common sense. That's why the stories tend to fail. And the prime textbook example of this is Ghostbusters 2016. Look where we are now. You know, they made up for that loss by introducing Ghostbusters Afterlife and the upcoming sequel, by the way, which, by the way, will also be a smashing success. So, again, I mean, this is typical Kathleen Kennedy behavior, never taking, responsibility for her loss, for the amount of millions of dollars that she cost Disney with the Indiana Jones 5 film, with Solo, and not just that, with the introduction of the High Republic books, really sharply underselling, costing Disney tons and tons of money, because they invested a lot into that lineup. Now, again, Disney has got no clue what they're doing. They really seem to be very blind and overconfident in some areas of Marvel and Star Wars, thinking that they can turn things around by forcing these agendas down the fans' throats, and it's just not going to work in the end. We all know this to be true, right? So, Kathleen Kennedy, this is exactly why she does not deserve to be at Lucasfilm. She has overstayed her welcome. She does not deserve to be a producer, a president of a company as large as Lucasfilm is, that, by the way, is going to be dwindling. We talked about this. There's a purge up and coming where a lot of employees will be let go per Bob Iger. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But even all the more so, she's doubling down on all of these projects. So anyway, guys, drop a comment below. Fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
Gun in hand, we are alone again. No, I'm not the one from night to moon.